What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Crypto for You. Today, I want to talk about something very, very important because here, look at the crypto charts right over here. You could see how much Bitcoin rose in the last couple days. This is crazy. It rose all the way to 27,400, and I talked about this. I talked about what we could do if we break this resistance level. I talked about the possibility of us confirming support on something, and we look like we're playing this out. And today I want to talk about what I think could happen in the short term, the midterm, and the long term for Bitcoin in this live stream. So stay tuned and let's get straight into the charts. So first of all, here, look at this. We rose all the way from 26,400 all the way to 27,400. We rose $1,000 almost straight, which was a 3.95, a 4% pump. So a pretty good pump for 3 days. Of course, it's a little different than the first pump that we did. If we go back and we check that first pump that we did, it was almost instant. It was literally less than an hour, which caused us to fall back down. We had no bullish momentum. This kind of looks like a whale, but this is a much slower, much more looking like a bullish good trend. But what did I talk about previously? I want to talk about, I want to show you that in the previous live stream, I talked about a couple things. I talked about one, fear and greed. And right now, by the way, fear and greed is back at 47. It used to be at 30, which is why we rose up. It was super fearful. Now it's at 47. Now it's back at neutral. If you go back and look at the histogram, the lowest part when we were at 30 was at September 12th, which is all the way right over here at the bottom. And of course, that's when we started to rise up and fear and greed started to rise. Now we're back at neutral, but the trend still looks like it's continuing to rise. Now, in the previous live stream, I talked about the fact that we could confirm support if we fall down because we were falling down at this level right over here. We could fall down and confirm support at the 4 hourly moving averages, the 24 hourly moving average, this one right over here. I was talking about that, and I was talking about the fact that this was also going to be this green support, now a support line for Bitcoin, which used to be a resistance line when we were going in this descending channel that I knew was bullish. And I knew if we could confirm support at this level, we would rise up. And the fact that we did caused a tremendous big spike. Now, it didn't only cause a spike. We actually, in the middle of this pump, formed a pattern. If I hide the moving averages, I can show you this. We formed this sort of bullish pennant on the 4 hourly time frame, which is what's happening on the small term. And this 4 hourly time frame, this 4 hourly pennant could be the reason, could be the thing that could take us back up to 28,300. So if this is a real pattern right over here, this could be a pattern that takes us all the way up to the previous resistance level, which is very, very interesting. Now, what we have to do in the short term is break this huge level. If we manage to break 28,100, that's a very bullish thing. But, of course, there's the possibility that we confirm resistance. Now, what we have in the short term is a big, big resistance level. First, I want to talk to you guys about what I've been talking about, the possibility of a big bearish dump, and using this, we could see what's happening in the short term, because I've been talking about the fact that we were having this 5-wave Elliott wave for a while, and that this is a cycle. We had one wave here, two, and then you can see three, four, and the last one was a small one, five. That's a classical 5-wave move, and usually after that we have an ABC correction wave, which is a correction wave that is a 3-step correction wave: a dump, a small rise up, and another dump. And this is looking like a classic ABC correction wave. And there's a way to calculate this. This is the Fibonacci retracement. You figure out where we usually fall down to using this Fibonacci retracement. The likely chance for us to fall down to, most likely level, is around 0.5 to 0.618, this golden pocket, this golden area, which is 23,700 over to 21,000. And the interesting thing is that we actually never reached it. But in this ABC correction wave, the first thing we do is fall down to not exactly that level, but around to 0.382. And after that, we rise up around halfway. So what we could do is we can grab a small Fibonacci, inverse it, and see it upside down. And that can show us, where we believe Bitcoin could rise up to. Now, seeing where Bitcoin could rise up to, the most likely chance for Bitcoin to rise up to is 29,200 or 28,400 in this pocket. Let me hide the big one just for now to see this small Fibonacci much clearer. But if we zoom in, we have multiple other levels that are also big support and resistance levels. For example, we are right now tapping this, which is the 0.382 level, basically the $27,600 level. This is what we're stuck between. Right now, we're stuck between this purple level and this red level, and until we get out of this level, we will be stuck. Just like we were stuck between this level, the red one, and this level, the gray level, which was the bottom support right over here. There are some bullish news. If we break this level, this could look like a huge W pattern. If I could grab my brush, this could be a huge W pattern. Now, this W pattern could potentially invalidate this whole entire bearish ABC correction wave, because the target of this W pattern is all the way at 30,200, which, as you can see, is much higher than the 0.618 level. So if we do rise up to this target, which would be 0.786, it could potentially invalidate this whole entire ABC correction wave that could potentially cause us to fall all the way down to $20,000 again. Now, what we have to do is look at the short term. So the next step for us to go to is to break this resistance level, which could be what this bullish pennant could achieve. Like I said already, this bullish pennant could take us past this resistance level. And what we need to look at is for this resistance level to be broken. As you can see, the target is past that resistance level over to 0.5. But of course, we're not in the clear yet. Once we reach 0.5, we have to continue to rise. If you see a reversal, if we fall back down to this level, you could be pretty sure we could fall all the way back down to around $20,000. This is where the little bullishness comes in. But there's a ton of bullishness. There's a ton of bullishness. There's a little bit of bearishness. This is what I want to talk about, because looking at the midterm, even though this might be an ABC correction wave, there's the W pattern that I talked about. But there's also a bullish divergence that we might be playing out right now. Bullish divergence is when the price is going down, but the RSI is actually starting to rise up, and that usually causes the price to flip. And what we usually do is rise past the previous local high and make a higher high. That could cause us to rise to around 28,500 or around 29,200. So as you guys can see, in the short term and in the midterm, it does look like we're going to have a pump. The RSI says also we could be seeing a pump all the way to $29,000. 100% that's going to happen, and that's a 7% pump. That's what we know. And the good news is that a pump to $32,000 using that W pattern, this could not just mean a pump in the midterm. This could mean a pump in the long term, because think about this. If we make this W pattern work and we rise all the way up to here, the next level is for us to go back to the all-time high. And this is where the long term comes in. The long term comes in because think about this. If we zoom out to this big time frame and we look at this whole entire big picture, you can see what looks like maybe a W pattern that's forming on the longer time frame. Think about that. Of course, trend is the wrong way. So another pattern that happens when a trend is like this is a three drives pattern. A three drives pattern is technically bearish. But in the short term and in the big term and then the midterm, this means that we will be rising all the way up to around $30,000. A rise to $30,000 will be massive for Bitcoin. And the fact that we have this W pattern in the short term means that we will most likely rise all the way to $30,000. So in the short term, in the midterm, it does look like there's a pump. But of course, there's a big warning. We are not out of the bear market. Just yet. We are out of the bear market, but we might not be out of the dump just yet, because of the ABC correction wave. And what we need to do 100% is to break the previous all-time high. The previous local high for us, which is gonna essentially start a new wave for Bitcoin. So for us to 100% be bullish in the long term, this is long-term talk already, we need to break $31,800. Now, Of course, whatever happens, this is all following the halving cycle. I've been talking about the halving cycle forever. Looking at the different chart right over here, this is the halving cycle. I've been talking about this forever. The halving, which is a big, big event, is going to happen at March of 2024. And all this is just a 4-year cycle that's been causing Bitcoin to basically repeat the same exact things over in kind of a cycle. And it shakes out a ton of people. If you look at back in the beginning of history, you could see that a month after the halving, this line over here, around a month after, we would start our bull market. And in the beginning of quarter, in the year one, in the beginning of year two, that's when the huge pump would happen. And after that, the second and third year are usually a fall down. Now, here's the interesting thing: hodlers, people who bought right over here and are continuing to hold, or maybe bought all the way right over here and did not sell during the dump, think they're in the clear and start thinking about the pump, and they believe that we're about to start rising once again. But here's the thing: this is not after the halving. The pump usually happens, the huge last pump happens around 1 month to 2 months after. Of course, if you look at the long term, we did have a pump up, but not before rising, falling once again. We were just pumping around, and many people thought that after this dump we would have a pump from, this was at 1,000 to all the way like $5,000. They thought instantly that we were going to have a double pump. That is not correct. Cycle does not work like that. We waited all the way till the halving, and it caused a ton more people to fly out because they were waiting and waiting, and they kept seeing the price rise and fall and rise. And of course it did rise to around the middle, but they did not see that huge bump until after the halving. Looking at the second cycle, you can see the same exact thing happened around a month later. The huge pump happened over to around the end of the first year, the beginning of the second year. And after that, we had a dump down. But you can see that people started thinking that the pump was going to happen, that we were going to rise to around $100,000 right over here at the beginning. But as you guys can see, we rose to around halfway before falling all the way back down to $4,000. We were just fluctuating all the way back here, and the best thing that you can do is just hold and wait till the halving happens. So after a dump, you wait till the halving happens if you're long term. And around, like I said, the cycle continued once again, and around a month or 2 months later, that's when the huge pump happened. That's when the big money comes in. And as you guys can see, we're already doing the same exact thing that we did back over here. We had the huge crash, and now people are once again believing that Bitcoin is going to rise to around $150,000, $200,000 this year. They were talking about 2023 being the time when Bitcoin is going to go to $200,000, but once again, the cycle doesn't show that. The Bitcoin halving shows that we could be fluctuating. And of course, like in the long term, I can't tell you where we're going to go exactly, but we will not be going back to all-time highs until March of 2024 at least, and maybe even June, because we waited 1 month to a couple months after the halving to actually start the pump. And of course, we might rise to around $40,000. That's around the halfway point to this cycle, but 100% you're not going to see a pump to 140,000. You're not going to see a rise like this until later, until 2024, maybe even 2025. In the short term, whatever we do, it will not matter, because once the halving happens a couple months later, we will be seeing the pump. We could see a fall down right now, like we did see when we had this pandemic crash. We could see a world pandemic, World War III. Who knows what could happen? But whatever happens, we will see a pump happen in a couple months after the halving. And as a long-term holder, you need to just hold. Do not sell. If you bought right over here, this is going to be a great opportunity for you to keep holding this. Maybe if we fall down, that's a place where you buy. And looking back at the short-term time frame, if this does happen to be a rise up and we break past $31,000, like I said already, we could be rising to around $40,000, but a pump to $100,000 doesn't happen until the halving because of cycles. And of course, like I said already, if this is a 3 drives pattern, then a fall back down to around $20,000 is usually what's going to happen, because looking at smaller cycles, Elliott wave happened, ABC correction wave is next. Even if this is not an ABC correction wave, maybe it's a dead cat bounce, maybe it's something like that. We could see this exact thing happen, but in the short term, in the midterm, we do look super bullish, and in the ultra long term, that is where we see this huge bullishness. But in this midterm time frame, the couple next month to this next year until 2024, this next 3, 4, 5 months, we could see very fast fluctuation in price, depending if we fall down to $20,000 or we rise all the way up to 25. And that's where I will be updating you guys very, very fast every single day, talking to you guys about the price, telling you guys what's going to happen. For now, this is what I'm talking about. This is the update for Bitcoin. In the short term, we look like we could rise up if we break this $27,600 level. Play out that W pattern, super rise up to around 30,000, maybe 32. By the way, that pump would be around 12%. That's a pretty good trade. But I will be updating you guys with this long-term news in the future every single day. So leave a like down below. Subscribe if you haven't already. I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, comment down below what else I should talk about. I could talk about any technical analysis, talk to you. Leave a comment section down below. And with that being said, I'll see you in the next live stream. See ya!